Hey neighbor, today let's talk about soils. What if you got bad soils? First of all, I want to show you what I think good soil looks like. Well, I'm blessed enough to have what we call good soil. My soil is like a sandy loam type soil, and it's perfect for growing vegetables. Now, if you've got good soil, I think growing vegetables in the ground is the most economical and the best feasible way for you to grow plenty of food, hands down. If you got sandy type soils, you can still grow in the dirt there, in the flat or in ground as we say. But we're going to also talk about what if you have some of those hard clay soils. If you are blessed to have some of these good soils, they drain well. Of course, I've added a lot of compost, but your organic matter is high in your soils. They hold nutrients well. Your plants just do wonderful. A side effect of that is you grow nice weeds too. But if you are lucky enough to have soils this right here, you probably got a little different strategy you guys that don't have those good soils. Now, there are several types of good soils. This right here is, like I said, it's kind of a sandy loam type soil. If you got more of a rockier type soil, you see that little iron pebble right there? If you got more of those in there, that even means that your soil is even more rich in minerals than mine are, because these little things will etch out those little minerals from time to time and feed the soil. So the little pebbles in your soil there is a good indication that you got high mineral soils. Now, sandy type soils, and I'm talking about those white sandy type soils like you guys down in the deep, deep south have, those can be a little more problematic. They drain better than what mine is. And look here, I just got 2.5 inches of rain a couple of days ago, and you see how this is already drained well. But sandy type soils are going to hold moisture even less. So you're going to have to water more often, and you're going to have to add nutrients more often, because your soils, your sandy type soils, have low cation exchange capacity. That means they have low capacity to hold in nutrients. So if you've got those sandy type soils, just be aware that you're going to have to water more often, and you're going to have to fertilize more often, because you're going to leach out. So regardless of what kind of soils you have, this compost right here is what's going to make you look like you know what you're doing. Compost is just rich organic matter, and adding it to any type of soil type is going to be beneficial. And the key there is getting good compost. Now, I'm lucky enough to have a place close by that has good compost, so I can get it bulk. They also sell it in bags. You know, check around, make sure that you can find a good place that has a good reputation for compost. Make sure it's not contaminated, make sure it doesn't have weed seeds in it, make sure it goes through the process of heating up so it kills those bad microorganisms in there, and it's full of this rich organic matter just like this. Now, if you have those clay soils that so many of you have that's hard to work, there is a product called gypsum that you see right here. This is what we call a soil conditioner. We also use it as a calcium supplement when we're growing tomatoes and peppers and things like that. It's a great calcium source, but it's also a good soil conditioner for only those clay type soils. It helps break those up a little bit and be more workable. Well, let's just say that you got some of those hard clay soils and those rocky soils that I hear so much about. Well, sometimes you may be better off trying not to do in-ground gardening and do this here raised bed gardening. Now, this raised bed gardening here we put in back last year, and I want to show you just how much you can grow in a raised bed garden. So if you're blessed with those terrible soils, raised beds can be the ticket for you. Now, raised bed gardening is probably the most expensive type of gardening you can do, but you can grow even though regardless what kind of soils you got. Now, these raised beds we put in here, I'll put a link down below where we got them from. These are, in my opinion, probably the best raised beds out there. They're not cheap, folks, by no means, but these things are heavy duty. I didn't want anything flimsy, and plus we wanted something kind of wide at the top there so Mama Hoss could kind of sit on the edge there. These are wonderful raised beds, easy to put together, but not cheap. For if you're looking for cheap raised beds, this is not the way to go. So let's talk about what we filled these with. Now, I was lucky enough to get some topsoil, and I mixed topsoil and compost. Of course, we come in here before pre-plant and we incorporate our complete organic fertilizer. But as far as the fill here, I did topsoil and compost, about a 25% compost, 75% good topsoil mix. If you don't have a way to get good topsoil, then you could use peat moss. I would buy the cheapest peat moss I can get. I have seen it on sale at the big box stores before, and you can take that peat moss, you can take good compost, mix them together, and make a good pot medium for raised beds. Now, if you're going to put raised beds in, folks, one of the problems with raised beds is they're elevated and they dry out quickly. If I got one complaint about a raised beds is you have to water them more often because they dry out so much. Now, the flip side of that is if you do have a lot of rain, your stuff don't drown out because it's elevated and it drains well. That's the reason I highly recommend using drip irrigation in your raised beds. You can see here, in fact, Mama Hoss put all this in by herself, but she put our raised bed drip irrigation kit in all these raised beds here. So she just got to flip a valve to water. You could put it on a timer. She likes to do it. She likes to come out here and just turn it on when she wants to water. But I would definitely recommend that. So let's talk about how much and some things you can grow in raised beds. Here we are in the springtime of the year. And folks, I want you to look at this salad mix she's got growing right here. Now this was grown from our seed tape. And look at that right there. Grew in no time. She put the seed tape down, run the irrigation on top of it, and look here, we got plenty of salad there to eat. Well, here we've got more seed tape. We've got the beets, and what she did right here was she planted the tape right beside one another, one carrots and one beet. She kind of double rowed that on me right there. So she's got beets and carrots growing in this raised bed, and they're looking mighty healthy. And she's got some greens growing, got some kale growing. She's got some purple sprouting broccoli there, some Morris head and cabbage right here. And she's got some of her halcinator peppers planted in this bed right here. All right, we couldn't be complete without having some onions. Some onions Mama Hoss planted in the fall, and you can tell they've done exceptionally well. This bed right here is in transition. It's ready for some of those spring warm season plants. All right, folks, look at here. Ain't this beautiful? This is a Totsy type bok choy. This is the first time I've grown this, but we've already enjoyed it a few times here. It makes an absolutely stunning plant. And look how much you can grow in a simple 4x8 bed. Now, as you can see here, she's starting to bolt, so it's getting toward the end of its life there. But man, these things have been beautiful, and we've really enjoyed eating on them. And we got collards. We've eaten a lot of collards off this bed here. They starting to bloom there, so they'll need to be took out toward the end of their cycle there. We'll flip this bed and put some warm season crops in there. Couldn't be complete without having some calendula. Y'all, I absolutely love this right here. This is a cool season flower. It does wonderful in fall and early spring. It's also a good herb that you can make skin products out of. Mama Hoss does a lot of things with this calendula right here, but it's wonderful for pollinators this time of the year. More short day red onions there, and this bed right here is leftover herbs from last year, some purple coneflower, some lemon drop that's starting to come back up, just kind of leftover stuff that she's going to let come back up. And this right here, folks, is Savannah mustard. We've really enjoyed this winter here. Look at those big leaves on there. Now, this stuff is wonderful. It's gotten to be one of my favorite greens to eat. Now this right here is, like I said, getting toward the end. We'll flip this pretty soon. And we got Irish potatoes growing in a grow bag here. Just another example of what you can grow if you've got bad soils. You can use these root pouches right here, and you can grow your own Irish potatoes. You can move this around. When you're through growing them, dump it out, fold up your root pouch and put it somewhere out of place. But regardless of how much space you got or how bad your soil is, you can grow potatoes in these root pouches. She's had a lot of good results doing that the last couple of years. Now, another thing you can do is what we call elevated beds, and that's what this is. We've had these rocks that she put up as a border. We filled in probably 5 or 6 inches there, so we added good soil in there. So we've got a 5 or 6 inch layer above our native soils there that we're able to grow peas on, some English peas and onions. Now you can use rocks here. Rocks work pretty good in my opinion there. If you've got them, on your property and you just have to haul them around, it works pretty good. We actually had to buy these right here. But anything that's going to contain that soil in right there will work. So folks, understanding your soil type and understanding the type gardening you need to do that you're going to be most efficient at is going to be really beneficial here. If you've got those good soils and you got a big family, you want to grow a lot of stuff like corn and watermelons and things like that, in-ground gardening is the way to go. If you have those marginal type soils, you got those big rocks in there that you're always battling, man, I think you're probably better off to go ahead and go to some type of elevated bed or raised bed gardening. And I just want to give you an idea today on how much you can grow with a raised bed garden. You know, this patch right here for the two of us will give more than enough for us to feed off of. Now there's going to be some problems with this as far as corn and watermelons. We can't be real productive with that in these small raised or elevated beds. But things like greens, tomatoes and peppers, herbs, all that kind of stuff, you can grow plenty of it in a garden situation like this. So regardless of your situation, whether you have a little small lot and you have to do container gardening, maybe a couple raised beds, or you have plenty of resources with a lot of land, you can garden and you can grow your own food. Folks, there's just no excuse.